Welcome to the Sunday service on this day, on the 15th of August 2021. As we experience in New South Wales statewide lockdown, we come together in this Sunday service. And also, I think throughout Australia and some part of Oceania, we would like to begin this service and worship. And let us begin with first opening song, Heart of the Father.
Tenderly
Thank you for the opening song. And now we would like to offer a bow to Heavenly Parent and to parents. 하늘 부모님과 천진 참 부모님께 경배. 바로 we will now recite Family Pledge. We will recite Family Pledge number 5. Our family, the honor of Chanyu Group, pledges to strive every day to advance the unification of the spirit world and the physical world as subject and object partners by centering on true love. Okay. Now please join me in invocation prayer. Heavenly Parent, true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Today, we have already come to the month of August, mid-August. Year 2021 passed quickly, and we are now preparing to commemorate the 9th anniversary of Two Fathers' Holy Ascension, which will take place on the 24th of August. As we prepare for Two Fathers' Holy Ascension anniversary, we reflect upon our two parents' course and how they reveal to us, Heavenly Parents, your heart as parent who has lost children and have walked a thorny path in search of your sons and daughters. And through true parents, we have come to know your heart to embrace all humanity, especially at this time when we have true parents with us. Now with True Father in the spirit world, True Mother still working and living with us, encouraging us every day and every week with a message of love, and really paved the way for us to go forward, especially how we can bring about the realization of your ideal here on earth. So we offer our gratitude to our True Mother. And also as we face the pandemic and throughout the nation, here in Australia, but also in Oceania, and even around the world, still many people face difficulty and also suffer and even face death at this hour. Heavenly Parents, we offer prayer and support. And as we overcome this pandemic, also we could learn to really take this time to reflect and make great preparation for the future. Heavenly Parents, may you guide each of our family as we prepare this new day through this service and the message that we are going to hear and receive through this. We want to receive your guidance and refresh our heart, our spirit, and to begin this new week with you, Heavenly Parent. And with your love, your guidance, Father and Mother's words, we have great hope for the future. And we want to prepare and go forward with this victorious and with a joyful heart. We thank you for this. May you guide us today, our service, through the message which will be given by Reverend Greg Stone. We pray that we can really receive well our heart and be able to put that into our life. I sincerely pray and report all this in my name, Sun Tek Lim Blessed Center family. Aju. Now we would like to watch HJ Global News.
Hello dear members and welcome to another edition of HJ Global News. This week, Peace TV has prepared a special feature on the major events of the first 6 months of the 9th year of Chonaguk. From events celebrating True Parents' birthday and the 8th anniversary of Foundation Day, to peace festivals and special services of hope, which True Mother intends to establish as new witnessing cultures. In this special edition of HJ Global News, we will review these landmark events that happened in the first half of 2021, hoping that they will awaken in you the desire to become the light of the world through absolute filial piety towards heaven. Ignorance is as dark as a pit. To break that ignorance and get to the light, we are following small glimmers of light in the dark. Let's keep going ahead as we run and advance towards a heavenly unified career, holding on to the word which we were told to share with all the nations of the world, introducing the tradition of filial piety towards heaven. The 9th year of Chonaguk, the longing for God is seen all over the world. The 9th year of Chonaguk started with people from around the world celebrating together.
새술은 새 부대에 담아야만 영원합니다. 지금까지의 제도 규범은 벗어나 하늘 부모님 성회에서는 하늘 부모님의 꿈을 이루어드리는 하늘 부모님이 바라시는 자격을 갖추는 아들, 딸이 되기 위해서는 축복을 받아야 하며 축복 가정으로서의 책임을 하는 길만이 영원한 지상 천국, 천상 천국의 삶을 영위할 수 있는 하늘 부모님의 참 자녀가 되는 길입니다.
True Mother blessed us all, asking us to become true children who fulfill our responsibilities. Leaders from 194 countries and blessed family members could share the joy on True Parents' birthday and the 8th anniversary of Foundation Day, which is the foundation for the safe settlement of Chonaguk. Central blessed families shining rays of hope around the world with a filial heart for heaven vowed to become treasures of heaven. The celebration to mark the 61st Holy Wedding Anniversary of True Parents of Heaven and Earth and Humankind started on April 14 and lasted for 40 days. They all revolved around the common vision of building a heavenly unified Korea and moving towards a heavenly unified world.
섭리의 진실을 바로 가르쳐줘. 신통일 한국. 어렵지 않아? 이제는 두려운 게 없어. 진실 앞에. 그래서 우리는 국가복귀 2023년에 할 수 있다. 없다야? 할 수 있다.
The members thus resolved to move forward with conviction as sons and daughters of the Heavenly Parent. Blessing festivals were held in Korea and the United States during this year, with thousands of people participating from around the world. True parents have taught us that through living for the sake of others, we can experience true joy and perfection in the family. And through a blessed marriage, the most precious gift of life, we are reborn as children of Heavenly Parent.
오늘 여기 축복받은 당신의 자녀들은 하늘 앞에 감사와 송영을 드림은 물론이요 이들이 책임함으로 말미암아 하늘 부모님의 꿈, 인류의 소원이 앞당길 수 있다는 것을 알고 영웅 충신의 자리가 됨을 명심하고 그 한 길로 달려나가겠다고 결심하는 이 자리인 줄을 알고 있으니 하늘 부모님 기뻐 받으시옵소서.
This new awakening and newly created environment provided the chance to reflect on the value of True Parents' cosmic holy wedding. A new heaven, a new earth, a new Eden. The creation of this new Eden, so desired by God, is driving the members to continuously work hard. On February 17, after the pledge service marking True Parents' anniversary, True Mother toured the HJ Chonwon complex and attended the dedication of several new spaces, which she blessed. A few weeks later, she presided over a special meeting regarding Chonwon-gung and prayed for the effective construction of the building, which will house the Temple of Heavenly Parent and the administrative center of Cheonilguk. On this basis, the ceremony marking the completion of the main structure of Chonwon-gung was held. During the ceremony, True Mother presented Chonwon-gung as the place marking the completion of the divine providence and the human history, in a prayer expressing her joy and gratitude.
감사하신 하늘 부모님, 고마우신 하늘 부모님, 너무도 오래 기다리셨습니다. 이 민족이 소원하는 통일 한국은 하늘 부모님을 모시는 자리에서만이 가능한 것입니다. 그리하여 이 성전이 완공됨은 하늘 부모님께서 꿈꾸셨던 지상에 참 부모와 함께 안착하시는 때임을 알아야 합니다. 2023년 봉헌할 때까지 오늘부터 하늘 부모님께서 모든 것을 주장하시는 가운데 역사하며 보호하여 주시기를 간절히 바라며 참 부모의 이름으로 아뢰었사옵나이다. 아주.
After the prayer, the main beam of the building was memorably raised. Cheonilguk leaders concluded the ceremony by offering 3 shouts of Okmanse at this holy place, which will help create a new future, one centered on God for generations to come. Heavenly Parents Holy Community's Peace Festivals launched a new culture of witnessing. True Mother inspired the realization of the Peace Festival and invited all peace-loving citizens so that God can once again embrace His lost children with His love. Five peace festivals with the themes of blessing, joy, gratitude, happiness and determination respectively are planned for this year. The first 2 festivals with the themes of blessing and joy have already been held at the international headquarters and the 5 sub-regions of Korea. The festival is divided into 3 parts, each with a theme, including Who is the Mother of Peace, Who is the Heavenly Parent, and Who am I? It is an opportunity for political and religious figures from all over the world to bear witness to Heavenly Parent and the Mother of Peace, and to reaffirm their determination to achieve a world of peace. These festivals are creating a new culture of Hyojong filial love. Another outstanding innovation that True Mother brought in this era of Cheongguk establishment was the special Hope Services for the realization of a heavenly unified Korea, which were held online at the level of the 5 sub-regions of Korea in Japan. During these Sunday services, True Mother designated particular flowers to symbolize the sub-regions of Korea in Japan and emphasized that members must align themselves with the resolutions in order to present satisfactory results. In addition, she also presided over brotherhood ceremonies for unity between each sub-region of Korea and its corresponding sub-region in Japan. The leaders and blessed families of the 2 countries pledged to work together to build a heavenly unified Korea. The Sunday service to celebrate the 59th day of All True Things and the 67th anniversary of the founding of FFWPU consisted of 3 parts. It was held at the International Headquarters Church and was streamed live. Part 1 of the event was the pledge service, Part 2 an award presentation, and Part 3 a special gathering. On that day, True Mother praised the efforts made by the leaders to date. True Mother encouraged all members to redouble their efforts until the 100th anniversary of the Family Federation and prayed that they would make history.
그동안 협회 창립 67주년을 맞기까지 수고한 축복 가정들의 공적과 역사를 우리는 다시 한번 생각합니다. 지금부터 100주년을 맞게 되는 그때의 통일가의 자랑스러운 역사에 남는 승리한 축복가정, 천보가정이 많이 일어나기를 축원합니다. 그날까지 건강하고 감사한 마음으로 최선을 다해 주길 바랍니다.
In a special meeting, Mother acknowledged the merit of the leaders who successfully accomplished the goal of 43 families within a 100-day period. On this basis, a special church meeting with leaders and members involved in public mission in Japan was held. On this occasion, True Mother was present at the meeting and provided guidelines to bring about the substantial realization of Cheongguk in Japan. As we move from the wilderness age to an era of the firm establishment, True Mother is implementing 4 major types of innovations that will be the foundation of Heavenly Parents' Holy Community: worship, service innovations, structural innovations, pastoral innovations, and church institutional innovations. True Mother urged the church leaders to guide the members on the essential paths of Cheongguk family so that they can enjoy immense happiness.
어머니 나라의 사명이 무엇입니까? 참 부모에 의해서 한국과 일본은 아버지의 나라, 어머니의 나라로 발표되었습니다. 오늘날의 일본이 축복가정들은 물론이지만 정치계, 재계 모든 일본 백성들이 알아야 할 것은 역사의 진실을 바로 알고 무조건 한국, 아버지의 나라, 이 한국을 붙드는 길만이 일본이 살아남을 수 있는 길임을 시간이 언제나 있는 것이 아닙니다. 참 부모가 독생녀 어머니가 지상에 있을 때에 열매를 보아야 하는 것입니다. 그래야 영원한 영생의 축복의 자리에 나아갈 수 있는 것입니다.
The leaders expressed their firm determination to reveal the truth of the providence and to fulfill their mission, both on a national and personal level. We blessed families who are living together in the same era with True Mother, the substantial Holy Spirit, and have the privilege to serve her in this golden age, should live with true filial Hyojong love, proudly bearing witness to God and true parents, and contribute to the realization of a heavenly unified Korea and a world united under God. Our heart of filial piety towards God and our determination to absolutely realize His dream should lead us to overcome every kind of trial and stand by our true mother in this continuous march towards the realization of a heavenly unified Korea and heavenly unified world. With these words, we close this edition. Thank you for joining us, and may God bless you.
Thank you for the global news. Yeah, through this global news, we can feel True Mother's heart. And even though in the pandemic, but True Mother really move and very active and really find a way to reach out to so many people in the world. So we really are grateful. And also True Mother's words encourage us every day and every week, and like a cheerleader to encourage all of blessed families to go forward. Thank you. With that, we proceed to the next song by our choir, I Can See Clearly Now. Thank you, choir. That was a beautiful song to brighten our day and help us to prepare well for the now the sermon time. This week's sermon will be given by Reverend Greg Stone, and let us invite Reverend Stone and welcome his message for today.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Oh, well, yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming along for Sunday service from many different parts of Australia. I want to talk today about the new truth, the power and responsibility that we have to transform the world. And I'm going to refer in this presentation to some new material that has been developed by Dr. Thomas Ward, who's the president of Unification Theological Seminary in America. And he gave a presentation as part of a CALSA 2 series on the unification worldview, formulating a response to the secular worldview. So I'm going to be referring to some of his slides in this presentation. So yeah, the new truth, the power and responsibility that we have to transform the world. So in the beginning of the divine principle, we read about the new truth and our calling. People need religion. On page 7 of Divine Principle, it states, people need religion in order to seek the ultimate reality and to realize goodness in accord with the inclination of the original mind. Thus, the purpose of every religion is identical. However, religions have appeared in different forms according to their various missions, the cultures in which they took root, and their particular historical period. Their scriptures have taken different forms for similar reasons. All scriptures have the same purpose, which is to illuminate their surroundings with the light of truth. Yet when a brighter lamp is lit, the old lamp is outshone and its mission fades. Because religions lack the power to guide modern people out of the dark valley of death into the full radiance of life, there must appear a new expression of truth that can radiate a new and brighter light. Of course, and then Jesus indicated that God would someday reveal a new truth. I have said this to you in figures. The hour is coming when I no longer speak to you in figures, but tell you plainly of the Father. John 16:25. So this new expression of truth, of course, as we know what it is, the divine principle, but it also, Father has spoken and explained about the new truth in many, many volumes of his words, and Mother also. But I guess you could say the three main aspects of it in book format are the divine principle, which is more the religious expression of the new truth. The second is unification thought, which is more, you could say, the philosophical expression of the new truth. And victory over communism theory, which was later adapted to in the West as CALSA, is more kind of like the political expression. So these are like the three very important basic aspects of expressions of the new truth that have come to the world to help this world at this time. And of course, we are the stewards of that truth. We are the first ones who have been receiving that new truth. So we have a certain responsibility to understand it, to understand how to deliver it effectively in the context of the current world. And as the principle says, we've just read, the world is in a kind of a dark valley of death. And it needs this new light, because there's darkness. It's like there's not enough light. There's not enough understanding of what is real. And so this is where this new expression of truth must come to radiate this brighter light. And this is the principle says, because religions lack the power to guide modern people out of the dark valley of death into the full radiance of life, there must emerge a new expression of truth that can radiate a new and brighter light. So being the bearers of this amazing new truth, we have a great privilege, but also a responsibility at this time to bring the light to this dark and struggling world. We see so many things going on, even, advanced countries are struggling, looting in America in the shops, and then, the Taliban now, taking back over in Afghanistan, and of course the pandemic and people struggling to deal with it. And, it's a kind of confused place, the world at this time. And so what is needed is this new truth, and we are the bearers of that truth. And then the principle goes on to explain what are the 6 missions of the new truth. So let's have a look at the 6 missions that are given for the new truth to perform, which means that these are things that we have a mission to do, right, with the new truth. The first one is the new truth should be able to unify knowledge by reconciling the internal truth pursued by religion and the external truth pursued by science. So yeah, our expression of truth has no contradiction in terms of scientific understanding. So yeah, this is an amazing higher level where spiritual and scientific truth can come together. The second mission that the new truth must fulfill is that it should lead fallen people to block the ways of the evil mind and pursue the goals of the original mind, enabling them to attain goodness. So, yeah, so clear, this new truth, that we can overcome the sin and we can emerge actually as our true original selves through this new truth. The third mission must fulfill, the new truth must fulfill, is that it should be able to reveal the heart of God on a higher level than has ever been revealed before by any other faith or any other truth, to really know God in a deep sense. So the fourth mission the new truth must fulfill, it says, therefore, in order for God's providence of salvation to be completely fulfilled, this new truth should first elevate the idealism of the democratic world to a new level, and then to assimilate materialism, and finally bring humanity into a new world. This truth must be able to embrace all historical religions, ideologies, and philosophies, and bring complete unity among them. So this is an amazing thing to accomplish, elevate the idealism of the democratic world, overcome materialism, embrace all the religions and ideologies of the past, and bring unity. So the fifth thing that the new truth must do is the new truth should guide fallen human beings to return to their original state. So before the fall, we were to fulfill the 3 great blessings: individual perfection, as like being fruitful, multiplying, realizing families of true love, expressing all the 4 great realms of the heart, 3 great kingships, realms of the royal family, family of true love, and then to have proper dominion over the creation. In other words, to overcome the issues that we're facing at the moment of pollution and climatic changes and things like that. So to have proper dominion. So that's the mission of the new truth, to do that as well. And the 6th one, the new truth, in addition, the new truth should be able to elucidate the many difficult issues of Christianity, which has been granted the mission to establish the sphere of culture worldwide. So yeah, we see Jesus there at the Last Supper, then this depicting them arguing with each other, right? So the disciples arguing with each other, meaning, of course, Christianity is broken into hundreds of different denominations and many different opinions. So these need to be clarified. So the new truth comes at a certain time in the providence. The formation stage of the restoration after the fall was, of course, the Old Testament era. And this, the truth was expressed in terms of law, obedience to the law, which is more of a kind of a servant obedience, sort of a servant kind of expression. The growth stage was more of an adopted child stage, ushered in through the New Testament and the Gospels, Jesus' words, based on faith. But there's still something missing, because this is only like formation and growth stage. There's still a whole level of truth is yet to be revealed. And this comes, of course, at the completion stage. We call it in our teachings the completed testament truth, based on attendance, based on true parents. So the new truth comes at the top of the growth stage. So it's no wonder that Christianity cannot cope with the issues that are currently in the world, because it doesn't have the higher level of truth to deal with issues that are of modern science and modern educated people. So there are many issues that Christianity has not been able to address. And this is one of the reasons why, particularly since the end of the Second World War, there's been a very marked decline in the influence of like the Christian-based worldview. We'll talk about that more in a minute. So then the new truth, being this completed testament, sort of completion level of truth, it must overcome things like religious differences, racial conflict, national divisions, materialism, ideological confusion, the prevailing secular worldview, and usher in the new world of Chonoguk. So the new truth is essential to take us beyond the top of the growth stage. Okay. So the divine principle, as it says here, religions have appeared in different forms according to their various missions and cultures in which they took root, and their particular historical period. Their scriptures have taken different forms for similar reasons. And Father has expressed this in different speeches by saying that religions may be on like a servant level, or a servant of servant level, or maybe an adopted child level, or stepchild level. But the new truth needs to bring us into a relationship of true parent-child relationship with God. And so we come to find that, become in the true image of God as children of God through the new truth. So what are the implications of this then for us? It has huge implications for our heavenly tribal messiahship activities, for our work, for example, in the newly forming Pacific Christian Leadership Conference, because people's current knowledge is not enough to overcome religious divisions or all the different issues that the world is facing, the ideological confusion. It's not enough to end the suffering of humanity and to bring the world into peace. So we have what we call the missing part of the jigsaw puzzle. That's what we have. And we need to deliver that to the Christianity. We need to deliver that to all people, actually, all religions, and to the people of the world. Otherwise, we will not be able to have the world we all desire, a world of peace and harmony. Now, I want to just talk now about the world that we live in and the currents of thought that are prevailing and that have been influencing our world. And these currents of thought, we need to understand them well, and we need to understand our own unification-based worldview in order to deliver it to this world where all these currents of thought are prevailing. The Christian-based worldview was formed, of course, when Jesus came and 2,000 years ago, but then St. Paul was one of the first people who sort of developed the theology of Christianity, followed centuries later by Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, Luther, Calvin, Reinhold Niebuhr, Martin Luther King, just to mention a few. So the Christian-based worldview was kind of put together, over this period of time through the contributions of many, many great people. And as I mentioned in the previous sermon, they developed Cain type worldview and Abel type worldview in the last several hundreds of years. And the second phase of the Cain type worldview developed was the Enlightenment-based worldview. And this has become very, very prevalent. This is why it's marked in a yellow arrow there. It became very strong, and Christianity didn't really have an answer to it. And this is why we have, the Christian worldview was kind of marginalized and losing power. And this is really the prevailing worldview. This Enlightenment-based worldview is the prevailing worldview that we face in Australia and in the Western world in particular. And this was developed through several key people, and some of them are Charles Darwin, Spencer, Marx, at the Second International, Freud, Dewey, and the Humanist Manifesto 1, 2, and 3, Carl Rogers. These are people who contributed to what we call the Enlightenment-based worldview. Of course, you have the communist worldview, postmodernist worldview, and of course, the unificationist worldview. So let's have a look at this. What is a worldview? A worldview is a collection of attitudes, values, stories, expectations about the world around us, which inform our every thought and action. A worldview is expressed in ethics, religion, philosophy, scientific beliefs, and so on. A worldview is how a culture works out in individual practice. A worldview is the fundamental cognitive orientation of an individual or society, encompassing the whole of the individual society's knowledge and point of view. A worldview can include natural philosophy, fundamental, existential, and normative postulates, or themes, values, emotions, and ethics. Basically, it's the way you look at reality. So we look at this circular diagram. It all begins in the middle with our worldview. What is it? Is it a Christian worldview? Is it one that believes in God, or is it one that doesn't? And then based on that, we then go out. We form our beliefs, about the world, about people. We establish our values and our sort of modes of conduct and how we behave, and then our actions. So worldview is so important. What is our worldview? And unfortunately, at the moment, the prevailing worldview doesn't really pay much mind to God. And as we heard this morning with Mother speaking, she's begging people to return to God and to understand about God and God's existence. So we're going to take a look. For example, the roles of figures such as Paul and Augustine in the mainstreaming of Christian worldview. Christianity began. Jesus' early followers were not well educated. They were influenced by Jewish customs and traditions. They were spiritually inclined. So the Christian worldview was formed more as time progressed through the elites that followed after the crucifixion. So let's have a look. So these elites, like as talked about, Paul, St. Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, and so on, they were well educated. They were aware. They were aware of the Torah. They were aware of Jewish religion. For example, Paul, when he went, he was very aware of Greek thought, and in the Acts of the Apostles, he was able to make arguments to the Romans and the Greeks as to the viability of Christianity, because he had that knowledge, and so he was a powerful figure in evangelizing Christian belief. So yeah, he was aware of Greek and Roman religion. He was conversant with Greek and Latin. That was Paul. So when we think about our own situation, then, if we are to promote the unification worldview, if we are to promote and be effective in getting out the message of the new truth, we also we need to be educated. Well, we need to educate ourselves. So we need to provide training for a faithful, well-informed, and educated future leadership. Among other things, they need to understand the following. They need to understand the Renaissance, the Enlightenment. They need to understand Marxism, secular thought's evolution and development. They need to understand, of course, who is God, who are true parents, Jesus, who Satan is. They need to understand the Christian faith and tradition, and they need to understand world religions and traditions. They need to be pretty well-educated people, right, in order to successfully promote this new truth and convince people about this new truth. So let's take a look then, a little bit more detail about the Christian worldview. And to do this, I want to refer to the United States of America, which is, as Father indicated, is of course, prepared for this age as Christian-based nation for the Second Advent. So America was really prepared. The Pilgrim Fathers coming over and establishing their faith and so on. So America became a very strong Christian nation. Only more recently has it been struggling, with the kind of secularism and so on. And the founding fathers of America, they talked about even the role of public religion and civic virtue, and Christianity played a very important part of that. One of the important founding fathers of US was Benjamin Franklin, 1705 to 1790, a leading founding father of the United States of America. In his biography, he outlined what he called self-evident truths, which we find in the founding spirit of the United States as expressed in the Declaration of Independence. So these self-evident truths that Benjamin Franklin spoke about are the following. Human beings are created. God is the creator. Human beings are the children of God. And human beings are eternal. We have a spirit being, like that goes on after our physical death. Human beings are judged in the next world based upon how we have lived our lives in this world. So basically, this was his worldview, right? This was the center. And then from that, of course, the Christian nation of America sort of moved out from there, and formed its belief system and its behaviors based on that. Also, other people contributed. One also person living at a similar time was John Locke, a philosopher, and he wrote about the reasonableness of Christianity. And he was also a great proponent of Christian. What about Adam Smith? Of course, Adam Smith, he was a Scottish economist, philosopher, and pioneer. He's known as the father of economics, the father of capitalism, and he wrote two classic works, the Theory of Moral Sentiments and The Wealth of Nations. And he laid the foundations for a classical free market economy theory. So this is also based on a kind of a Christian worldview. Even the capitalism. So all different aspects of our society, the education system, the economy, our international relations, it all kind of goes back to this basic Christian worldview. And these are some of the key figures who developed that, some few hundred years earlier. However, when we look at the 20th century, which is just like last century, we find that what happened to these self-evident truths, that Benjamin Franklin took for granted and used to, to form, the basic documents of America. Human beings are created. Whoa, big question mark there. We don't know. Maybe God exists, maybe he doesn't. God, the creator, big question mark. Human beings are children of God. What? I don't know. Human beings are eternal beings. Human beings are judged in the next world based on what they have lived our lives in this world. So big question marks now emerged in the last century related to what was previously taken as self-evident truths. And I guess we could say, well, how on earth did this happen? How did this change and this kind of secularization take place from what was previously a Christian nation? And this, of course, applies to Europe and Australia and New Zealand in a similar fashion. So this is going to be illustrated by Sigmund Freud, who lived 1856 to 1939. And he described the 3 blows to Christianity, coming from this kind of Enlightenment worldview and the development of it. The first blow he talked about was the cosmological blow to Christianity, the second, the biological blow, and the third, the psychological blow. Let's take a look at each of them in turn and see what they comprise. The cosmological blow to Christianity. Okay, well, this began way back at the time of the Copernicus. He had a new view of the order of the solar system. So previous to Copernicus was this Thomas Aquinas and Ptolemaic view of the solar system, where it was presumed that the Earth, if you see here on the right, the Earth was the center of the solar system. Of course, because we're God's children and we have to be the center. Otherwise, God must have made it that way. And all the planets sort of, and the moon go out and the stars go out from there. But Copernicus found it, hey, this is not right, from his observations, development of telescopes. And so the sun actually, he found, was the center of the solar system. Earth was just the 3rd planet out. So, of course, the religious establishment really disagreed with this, and they really opposed this. They thought it was a threat to their theological understanding. And Copernicus was, didn't have a good time because of that. And then Galileo followed, the next sort of generation, and he confirmed, through his observations that yes, Copernicus is right. Galileo suffered a lot of persecution from the church and establishment. But then a generation after that, Sir Isaac Newton, he did the maths, right? And he found out, hey, Copernicus was right, Galileo was right, the church was wrong. And, they made a big mess, and so this caused the church to kind of be weakened. This is why, it's referred to as this kind of cosmological blow to Christianity. So the view of the universe, then people started to look at it in different light, and to look at things more rationally and experimentally. And so the universe started to, then the person called William Paley, he started to put together this idea that, this solar system works according to such intricate and accurate laws that it's like a watch, and there must be a watchmaker. But then later there emerged the theory of deism, which is also mentioned in the principle, and it challenged the notion of God, of a God working in history through a providence. It's saying like, well, Paley said, well, the watchmaker, what does a watchmaker do? He makes a watch and then he goes on and makes a different watch. He leaves the first watch or sells the first watch and doesn't take much interest in it after that at all. So maybe that's what God did, So this became quite popular, this kind of deism, where you have a kind of a God that is not really involved, and then what's the point of praying to this God if he's not really interested, and these kind of things. So things started to challenge the original belief of a personal involved God. Voltaire was another French Enlightenment, he was a French Enlightenment writer, historian, prolific writer of even plays and prose. He was a person of great wit and cynicism and satire, and he really didn't like Christianity, particularly the Roman Catholic Church. He was one of the first writers who became popular internationally. He became very wealthy as well. And so, he sort of made fun of Christian beliefs. He's saying like in his writings, for example, that, wow, look at the Bible. Look, it says that, Abraham, Sarah was, was 99 years of age when, she had a baby. And what is this kind of ridiculous things like this, So he really made fun of, in very clever way, of even the Bible. So it cast dispersions on the accuracy of the Bible and the view that the Bible was infallible and so on. And this kind of person became more and more prominent. So, the changes in the cosmological and Ptolemaic view led to, this kind of skepticism about the value of a life of prayers, mysticism, or the pursuit even of morals. So you can see these changes. Now, the second blow that Freud talked about, the second blow to Christianity, was the biological blow. And originally, there was Lamarck, 1744 to 1829, and he had the view of like the evolutionary development of species, and that, for example, you might have a flat plain and you have animals there looking for grass, looking for greens to eat, and then there might be a dust storm or something, and then there's less food, and only the animals they needed to adapt, so get longer necks in order to reach up higher in the trees to get the green leaves that remained, right? So this was Lamarck's theory at that time. But then along came Charles Darwin and wrote The Origin of Species in 1859. And of course, this was a big challenge to Christian belief. His theory of evolution was a theory of descent with modification and a struggle for survival based on survival of the fittest and natural selection, so that you have an animal that maybe has big, strong animal with big horns like this deer, that would be much more likely to survive against predators like wolves and bears than this one here, and so that you have the evolution based on this survival of the fittest theory that he put forward. On the religious side was one also influential French theologian called John Calvin, 1509 to 1564, and he proposed the idea of predestination. And unfortunately, this was kind of used as in a kind of racist way. So piety as the handmaiden of exploitation, a marriage of convenience, predestination, and social Darwinism. This man, Herbert Spencer, who was very influential in the 19th century into the 20th century, he put forward this idea of social Darwinism. Basically, what he said was that, based on Darwin, he studied Darwin's theory of evolution, and he said, well, that applies even to every aspect of life. It applies to human societies, to social classes, to individuals, as well as biological species developed over a geological time. So if somebody's doing well, it must be all part of the destiny, to be predestined to be rich, to be more superior than others. And then it, of course, it was construed in different ways, but some people construed it to justify slavery and the superiority of the kind of the white race, like this white lady, So this, unfortunately, these very evil practices and understandings were kind of justified in some ways through this social Darwinism. Another aspect of this unfolding, secular worldview was the Scopes trials. This was an important turning point. The Scopes trial of 1925, the state of Tennessee in the United States versus John Scopes on the teaching of evolution in US public schools. So this school teacher, John Scopes, he was, he believed in, Charles Darwin's evolution, and he wanted to teach it in his school. But the law in Tennessee was that you're not allowed to teach anything that was contrary to the Bible. So this caused like a confrontation, and John Scopes, basically kind of orchestrated this attack on this law that was still in place. And so this was a very highly publicized case in America. And this man, William Jennings, was decided to fight for the case for the law to remain. He was a very well-known fundamentalist Christian, and he was up against this very clever lawyer called Clarence Darrow. And of course, Darrow was able to ridicule, actually, William Jennings Bryan, especially when he came to the point, said, do you believe that, as the Bible said, that the earth was created in just like 6 days? You believe that? And he said, yes. Of course, people just said, this is crazy. How can this be valid? What's going on here? And of course, that was a big turning point. This trial was a big turning point in terms of the teaching of evolution and the kind of marginalizing of the Christian, the Christian teaching within the school systems in America. So yeah, so that was kind of the biological blow. And then the last blow was the psychological blow, which I guess Freud delivered himself. He challenged the notion of sin. The sexual drive, this is kind of what Sigmund Freud was teaching. The sexual drive and a drive for power are not unique to human beings, but also found in animals. Such tendencies thus do not constitute sin, but are natural and need to be demythologized. So, the whole concept of sin was kind of under challenge, and no, it's just all natural and so on. So Maurice Clavel, a French writer and journalist and philosopher, 1920 to 1979, made the following observations of this transition that was taking place in America and throughout the West. Through the Renaissance, we denied sin. Through the Enlightenment, we denied revelation. And through Marxism, we denied God. Now, John Dewey was a very prominent educator who came in charge and became very influential in the American education system, public education system. He was one of the first people who got his PhD from, I think, Harvard University. And he was originally Hegelian, but then he was so impressed by Darwin, and he became angered with Christianity's failure to respond to the challenges to creationism coming from the scientific community in the 19th and 20th centuries. And he was one of the early signers of what is known as the Humanist Manifesto. I'll read out what that is in a minute. Another very influential person influencing the trends of thought at this time in America was Carl Rogers, 1902 to 1987, more in the psychological and counseling area. And he put forward the idea of congruence. The unity of one's words and one's deeds is so important, he was saying. There must be a reconciliation if there is a difference between what one does in day-to-day life and what one allegedly believes in. So, but this was done without much judgment, as to, is this in line with the scriptures or anything like that? No. So it started to mainstream this idea of moral relativism, meaning that, who's to say that you're right and I'm wrong? And everybody's views are kind of equal, right? In a sense. And one of the expressions of this this movement towards humanism and secularism was expressed in literary form in the Humanist Manifesto of 1933. It was later added to, and this is what it said. The first, that religious humanists regard the universe as self-existing and not created. Second, humanism believes that man is a part of nature and that he has emerged as a result of a continuous process. Third, holding an organic view of life, humanists find that the traditional dualism of mind and body must be rejected. Fourth, humanism recognizes that man's religious culture and civilization, as clearly depicted by the anthropology and history, are the product of a gradual development due to his interaction with his natural environment and with his social heritage. The individual born into a particular culture is largely modified by that culture. And then the fifth of the point of the Humanist Manifesto is this: humanism asserts that the nature of the universe depicted by modern science makes unacceptable any supernatural or cosmic guarantees of human values. And then the sixth one was added to in 1970 in Humanist Manifesto number 2. While we do not approve of exploitive, denigrating forms of sexual expression, neither do we wish to prohibit by law or social sanction sexual behavior between consenting adults. The many varieties of sexual exploitation should not in themselves be considered evil. Sexual exploration should not in themselves be considered evil, short of harming others or compelling them to do likewise. Individuals should be permitted to express their sexual proclivities and pursue their lifestyles as they desire. So there you go. I mean, this is really kind of contradictory to, what is expressed in scriptures about, for example, homosexuality or bestiality or anything else like that. And of course, fidelity between husband and wife and, the family and all this. And then since the conclusion of the Cold War, moral confusion has only intensified. This is a sort of state that we see ourselves in. And Alan Bloom, in his book, The Closing of the American Mind in 1986, he said, when there are no common values, what can be the basis of the social contract which brings a people, a community, and a nation together? So America is like a civilization in crisis, and the West, we could say, is similar in that sense. Like Greece and Rome before, America is suffering a tragic erosion of its values and ideals. So we can see the transition that has taken place. So we, as the bearers of this new truth, we need to formulate a very convincing response to this moral relativism and to this kind of secular worldview. The challenges to the classical religious-based worldview we can put down here. The events and personalities, which I've just gone through, is, of course, the Copernican revolution, and they affected this Thomist view of the world, which is Thomas Aquinas' view of the world. Emergence of deism, attacking the idea that God was at work in history. Darwinism, attacking the idea that we were created by God, through a creation process. Sigmund Freud, attacking the idea of sin, the three strikes, cosmological, biological, and psychological strikes against Christianity. John Dewey, expressed through the Humanist Manifesto, that, the universe is as self-existing and evolution as a fact, so the education system started to teach evolution as a fact. And Carl Rogers, then unconditional positive regard, and empathy for people's point of view through this congruence idea, but leading to this whole idea of the promotion of moral relativism. So these are the challenges. And so the major 18th and 19th centuries challenges to the Judeo-Christian worldview, we could summarize as these here written down, but probably one of the major ones was this Darwinian theory of evolution. So let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail now. The critique of this theory of evolution. Now, the new truth, we need to be able to understand it. We need to see what is viable in it, but also what is not. We need to be able to critique it. So, evolution and theism. Evolution does not preclude the existence of God. It's describing a kind of a process, right? But it doesn't mean that God didn't use that process. And, of course, it's based on descent with modification, struggles for survival, and natural selection. But one of the big fallacies or problems with Darwin's original theory of evolution is this this kind of this idea of random mutations, right? And that's really the key, because was this guided by an intelligent direction? Was the evolution, was the process guided by something random, as was originally proposed by many people, or no? Or is it actually there's intelligent design working through this process? And when we look at this, I'll just go through this fairly briefly, that one of the critiques of Darwin's theory of evolution is this what they would call gradualism versus punctuated equilibrium. And this came about through lessons from the fossil records. Some of you may be familiar with this, but patterns of macroevolution, that the original theory of evolution predicts that evolution occurs by the gradual accumulation of small changes. The intermediate changes of evolution not presented by fossils merely testifies to the incompleteness of the fossil records. But actually, as the fossil records become more and more filled in, and they realize that it doesn't occur this way, that this gradualism doesn't take place. There's more punctuated, what we call punctuated equilibrium. So evolutionary history consists of geographically long periods of status, where nothing much happens, with little or no evolution, and they're interrupted or punctuated by geographically short periods of rapid evolution. So this is not what Darwin originally predicted, but the fossil records point out that this is actually what's occurred. So, we can see this, taking place in the evolution of different species, like this in the birds. It doesn't take place like this on the left as this kind of gradual evolution as you'd think. It's going like, wow, well, big change here in a short period of time, big change here, and speciation occurred like that, So, yeah, this is a kind of unexpected, but it's being found out through now increased understanding of the fossil records. So anyway, basically now the scientific evidence is not towards this gradualism as originally predicted by Darwin's theory of evolution, but by this punctuated equilibrium. How did this occur? This is the question, how did this occur? And, of course, we could say, well, there's a intelligent hand at work in this process and in general in the whole creation of the universe. And this is illustrated by this very nice little, what's called Shakespeare and the infinite monkey theorem. Let me just read this to you. Opponents to creation theory argue that given enough time, a monkey seated before a typewriter could produce all the works of Shakespeare according to the theory of probability. In sonnet number 18 of Shakespeare, which begins with the words, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" there are 488 letters. Neglecting the spacing between the words, the chance of randomly typing the 488 letters is 1 in 10 to the 690th power. The number 10 to the 690th power is followed by, 690 zeros. The immense scale of this number is hinted at when we consider that since the Big Bang, 15 billion years ago, there have only been 10 to the 18th power seconds. So this is ridiculous, And we're only talking about a sonnet, a short sonnet of Shakespeare, And when we look at the incredible complexity of every species and everything that's going on, the complexity of the cell wall is just incredible, There's no way that this can be created by random mutations. It's just like crazy thinking to think that this could occur. So modern science is more and more actually pointing towards intelligent design and towards the idea of a creator. So to write by random one of Shakespeare's sonnets would take all the monkeys plus every other animal on Earth typing away on typewriters made from all the iron in the universe over a period of time that exceeds all the time since the Big Bang, and still the probability of a sonnet appearing would be vanishingly small. There you go. So, there's something really missing, big missing link there. So let's now look at a survey of views of the origin of the universe. And then I want to talk now about another very, very interesting thing, and that is the more recent understanding of the Big Bang. Because previously the universe was thought to always have existed at the time of Aristotle, and even at the early times of Albert Einstein. It's the beginning of like the 20th century. Intellectuals thought that, you know, that the universe always existed until something very amazing happened. And that is that this whole idea of the Big Bang became experimentally, you know, verified. That this man here, the expansion of the universe, the continuous expansion of the universe, discovered by astrophysicist Edwin Hubble, 1859 to 1953, analogous to the ripples of a pond once the tranquility has been disrupted by a stone. So he figured out, he worked out through this kind of redshift that, hey, the universe is expanding, it's going away. More recently, they've found out that it's actually accelerating away, not just going at it's accelerating away. So this is quite phenomenal, you know, and it means that there's a beginning. It must have started somewhere, and this massive explosion occurred at the beginning, right? So this case for the Big Bang was quite revolutionary, and then they discovered this kind of cosmic microwave background radiation. It was discovered by these two scientists, and they were awarded the Nobel Prize in 1978. And this was kind of like further verifying this kind of Big Bang theory, you know. Also, the chemical makeup of the universe itself also supported the Big Bang theory. The substantial amount of deuterium, which can be found in the universe, this element can only be created under conditions of unfathomable heat, which are not found on any star of the universe. Its small yet significant presence can only be attributed to the initial outpouring of heat, which was the Big Bang. So, you know, these kind of things now more and more being discovered, that actually the origin had the universe had an origin. And in his Stephen Hawking's, in his Brief History of Time, he calculated back that it was like 13.82 billion years ago that the Big Bang happened, right? And but what was it? What was this? What exploded? What was there that exploded? You know? And then, I won't go into it in detail, but just to sort of give you an idea that one of the foremost French scientists, Jean Guiton, he was like in this group of just the 40 top scientists in France, and somebody has to die in order for somebody to enter that 40 group. Really top, well-respected scientists. He did this kind of evaluation of the Big Bang, right? And so astrophysicists have reached a rather broad consensus on the nature of the process and have been able to describe it beginning just after the occurrence, or with what is referred to as Planck's wall, which is 10 to the minus 43 seconds after the Big Bang. So the Big Bang occurred, and then, you know, then the universe expanded from there. And, you know, this sort of 10 to the minus 4, Planck's wall is like the smallest element of time that has any meaning, you know. And if light travels for this time, it travels a certain distance. So you're talking about, you know, such minuscule elements of time and length, right? So he goes back and does all his sums and goes right back to this Big Bang, right? And then he talks about, you know, this in the context of the laws of physics. And, you know, and so what was it that exploded? An entity billions and billions of times smaller than the nucleus of an atom. So, you know, hey, this thing is like nothing. He started from this like nothing. And then, right, and then, you know, so then 10 to the minus 33 centimeters diameter is the first measurement of the point of the explosion. So this physicist is calculating all these very interesting things about the Big Bang and how it began. And so the temperature of this tiny entity was like, we got here, we've got 10 to the 29 zeros, you know, 29 zeros. degrees Kelvin, right? This is the temperature of this tiny minuscule nothing that began everything. It's like incredibly, unbelievably hot that you can't even imagine it. Like, you know, the temperature of the sun, right? Our sun is only 15 billion Kelvin, right? So, you know, between 10 to the minus 35 seconds and 10 to the minus 32 seconds, the universe grows by a factor of 10 to the power of 50, more or less to about the size of an apple. And since the universe has only grown by a factor of 10 since then, to the power of 9, right? So he does all these calculations, right? Amazing. This entity was originally the original particle with no electrical charge or polarity. This is Guton is saying this. Beginning at 10 to the minus 31 seconds, the process of polarization into plus and minus charges took place. It began there. And then already within 200 seconds after the Big Bang, hydrogen and helium begins to form. This is his calculations. This notion of polarity and original image can be found throughout creation, he says. Hey, what's happening here? He's going back. He's starting to get a description that looks pretty familiar to unification of thought, you know, and the unification divine principle. So you got the Big Bang, got this expansion, then the polarization into positivity and negativity, and then the first hydrogen atoms within 2 minutes after the Big Bang. This is all, you know, Guton's sort of paper, you know. And so, you know, this is like origin, division, union, action. And hey, this is divine principle right there. So modern science is actually revealing something, which is that the principle is actually very, 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 very viable. But just like Marxism, like, you know, back in when Marx developed this, you know, 1800 and something, and Marx and Engels, they said, oh, we have science on our side. And they realized, then later on, as science developed, they realized, hey, these guys are not really scientific at all. Their science is really very primitive science. So this is actually what's happening. You know, as we are getting more and more knowledgeable about science, it's actually verifying more and more about God and about the way God created things. And it's debunking actually more and more this kind of humanist and secular worldview that was formulated back then. So this is what we need to understand this, you know. So the conclusion then is science does not prove the existence of God, nor does it prove that God does not exist. Science lends credence, however, to the model and dynamics of nature and creation introduced in unification theology. Example, the dual characteristics of give and take action, origin, division, union, action. So in conclusion, I just draw this to a close now. What is our role in this age of secular dominance, of division and moral confusion? We must understand our role. The powerful nature of the truth that we have, we must understand and embody this truth and train ourselves to teach it and to promote it effectively. We need to claim the spiritual and the artistic and the intellectual high ground that is ours. Step by step, this will change the culture into Heavenly Parents' ideal of Chonabuk. And finally, I want to close with the words of Father. He gave these words in 2002 at Sun Moon University. And this was education based on Godism, which of course Godism is another way of saying the new truth. And this was addressed to the grant at the granting of the honorary degree, doctorates, and it's in Pyeonghwa Gyeong and those page references. Moreover, God is the origin and source of all avenues of knowledge that express the truth. Before teaching its students about the material values vital to the secular world, Sun Moon University inculcates the attributes of loving God. The attitude of loving God. Professors need to teach and students need to learn with an attitude and understanding that God is a source of all learning, values, and truth. The ideal of education at Sun Moon University, expressed in its motto, Love God, refers to establishing righteous values rooted in God's love and practicing them in one's daily life. Contemporary society is rampant with materialism, atheism, and secular values promoting hedonism. It is a confused society that is destructive to authentic values. The motto, Love God, proposes that values be God-centered as an alternative to the degenerate values of contemporary society. In short, it is the teaching of Godism. So thank you kindly for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Stone. And I'd like to invite Reverend Stone also to give the benediction prayer.
Okay, thank you. Please join me in prayer. Our dear and beloved Heavenly Parents and true parents, heaven, earth, and humankind, when we look around our world today, we can't help but feel somehow that there's so much confusion and many people are suffering. And the reason is that they don't have the divine truth that has come to this earth through our true parents. And we need to be able to develop ourselves. We need to understand the incredible nature of the truth that we have. We need to understand science. We need to understand theological points of view so that we can go out there and we can make a bridge to the scientific community, make a bridge to the political leaders, even to the economists. And this is exactly what True Mother is doing. So let us really understand the wonderful and beautiful nature of this new truth. We have the new expression of truth that has come to the world to bring about the ushering in of Chonobuk. Thank you so much. Please guide us in the coming days and all the incredible work that our True Mother, and let us be able to support that fully. Thank you. I pray and report in the name of Greg and Reiko, Stone Blessed Central Family. Adieu.
Adieu. Thank you, Reverend Stone, once again for your effort to give the sermon. Let's give Reverend Stone another round of applause. Thank you. Yeah. So I think we learned a lot how we can apply divine principle to deal with today's world. Today's presentation may has a lot of detail. We may need a PowerPoint, but we need to keep learning how we can be the bearer of our principle and share and be able to guide this world. Thank you. With that, let's proceed. We will have a closing song, and we will have every praise. Our choir will present this song. Hallelujah. Let's dance.
Hallelujah.
Very beautiful. We're very happy, our choir, even though now lockdown, we still can enjoy your beautiful music. Thank you very much. And with that, we have announcement. And there are a few announcements today. Can we have the announcement page? If we have any, yeah. Okay, so first is a Pacific Christian Leadership Conference meeting. That is 17 August, which is a coming Tuesday. Yeah, and all the details I think Reverend John will provide. And then second, International Leadership Conference. And that is this coming Thursday and Friday. And it will be the 19th and 20th of August this week. Number 3 is the Special Great Works. If you have registered, number is 21 and 22nd, which is Saturday and Sunday this week. And as you know, Father Songhua, next Tuesday, the 9th anniversary of Father Songhua anniversary. That is coming up next Tuesday, and that should be live from Korea. So you get ready for that. And that also comes with a special donation for the Songhua and expressing our heart. And that is there is a donation which will be due on that day. The deadline is on that day. And number 5 is a Cheonryuguk Leaders Meeting, and that will be 24th and the 25th. And that is, Cheonryuguk Leaders Meeting. Today, 15th of August, there will be a practice for the special performance during Cheonryuguk meeting. And that's all I have. And if Reverend John want to add more.
About the PCLC, that's a pre-inauguration meeting. It's for basically for the Christian leaders that are going to be part of the conveners of PCLC. So it's not really an open thing. The inauguration will be, which is October 5, will be the inauguration, and that'll be a more open event for everyone to come and join and to see and that. Yes, and it's 2 weeks until the 24th, by the way. Yeah, so not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. But yeah, and yes, we, as you said, we have a Cheonryuguk Leaders Meeting, which is also on the same 24th of August, so they're connected together. And yes, we have to sing a song, and hopefully this is going to be done on a regional level. So yeah, that's today, a bit later today. We need to do that. Yeah, there's nothing else that I want to add unless there's something that Reverend Yutaka or Reverend Greg Stone would like to add. No, okay. That's it. Thank you.
All right, then we close today's service. And before go, you can open up your video, say hi to everyone, and we can depart and have a great week ahead. Do well and stay healthy, stay safe, stay healthy during the lockdown.
Yes. Have a great day, everyone.
Bless you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.